part of being a public figure or someone at times, you know, different things get said, but you don't react like that's the only time I've reacted like that, but the only time I ever reacted.
I think a scout watching me real boys and then just got asked down to contain them.
He was pathetic. That's walking straight past him like he didn't exist. And that was just one player. Because when you dig into what the football elite really think of Carragher, you discover something remarkable. The greatest players on earth, the managers who've won everything, even his own Liverpool teammates, they all seem to agree on one thing. Jamie Carragher might talk a good game, but when it comes down to it, he's never been good enough to judge them. Let's start with the moment that set the tone. Paris Saint-Germain had just signed Lionel Messi, pairing him with Neymar and Kylian Mbappe. On paper, it was unstoppable, but Carragher, sitting in the CBS Sports studio, saw a problem. He argued that fielding 3 players who don't press was tactical suicide in the modern Champions League. He specifically targeted Messi's lack of work rate, saying the days of carrying passengers are over. Fair analysis, you might think, except Messi didn't see it that way. The Argentine sent Carragher a private message on Instagram. It was in Spanish, so Carragher had to ask his colleague Kate Abdo to translate. The word Messi used was burro, donkey. In football terms, a donkey is someone who can run and tackle, but has no intelligence, no grace, no understanding of the beautiful game. Messi was effectively saying, you see football through the eyes of a workhorse, so you can't possibly understand how a genius operates. To Messi, Carragher's criticism wasn't just wrong, it was stupid, and the message was clear. You're not qualified to judge me. Carragher laughed it off on air, even thanked Messi for the interaction, but the damage was done. The world's best player had publicly dismissed him as a donkey, and while Carragher later claimed vindication when PSG failed to win the Champions League, the narrative stuck. Messi thought his analysis was rubbish. The insult spread across social media like wildfire. Fans debated whether Messi was right. Many agreed. They pointed to Carragher's playing style: aggressive, physical, workmanlike. He was never going to dribble past 5 players or thread a pass through the eye of a needle. He defended, he blocked, he headed, he shouted. These are valuable skills, but they're not the skills that define football's greatest minds. Then came Cristiano Ronaldo. Throughout the 2021 season, Carragher was the loudest critic of Ronaldo's return to Manchester United. While others praised his goals, Carragher argued Ronaldo was the problem. He said Ronaldo's lack of pressing broke the team structure, that his presence stunted younger players, that his ego undermined the captain. He even admitted he'd taken a pop at Ronaldo early in the season, saying he didn't think it was a great signing. Ronaldo remembered every word, and in August 2022, before a Manchester United versus Liverpool match at Old Trafford, he delivered his response. The Sky Sports panel was pitchside. David Jones, Gary Neville, Roy Keane, and Jamie Carragher. Ronaldo broke from his warm-up and walked over. He embraced Gary Neville. Carragher stepped forward, microphone in hand, ready to greet him. Ronaldo looked straight through him. He walked through Carragher's space to hug Roy Keane, had a warm conversation, then turned his back completely and returned to the pitch. Carragher stood there with an awkward smile, realising he'd just been humiliated on live television. David Jones narrated the assassination in real time. He's just completely blanked Jamie Carragher on live TV. This wasn't an accident. Ronaldo knew exactly who had criticised him. By refusing even basic professional courtesy, he was sending a message to millions watching. Your opinions are so offensive, so worthless, that you don't deserve acknowledgement. To Ronaldo, Carragher wasn't just wrong, he was irrelevant. The clip went viral instantly. Fans watched it on repeat, dissecting every second. Some defended Carragher, saying he was just doing his job, but most saw it for what it was: a calculated humiliation. Ronaldo had drawn a line between friends and enemies, and Carragher was firmly on the wrong side. Neymar, the third member of that PSG attack, felt the same way. Carragher had called the front 3 unmanageable, saying Pochettino should leave because they wouldn't do the ugly side of the game. While Neymar didn't send a private message or deliver a public snub, his dismissive attitude towards English criticism fitted the pattern perfectly. These South American artists saw Carragher as an old-school defender demanding sweat and tackles from players who offered flair and genius. To them, his his critiques were noise from someone who could never understand their burden. But the harshest rejections came from inside his own club. Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk, the two pillars of modern Liverpool, both turned on the man who supposedly represented their legacy. Salah's conflict erupted during contract negotiations. Carragher had previously accused Salah of only being vocal when he needed a new contract or had won Man of the Match. He suggested Salah was manipulating the fan base. In January 2025, when Salah posted a photo with Alexander-Arnold and Van Dijk during contract uncertainty, Carragher analysed it on Monday Night Football. He told Salah to take a leaf out of Van Dijk's book to handle business quietly rather than playing social media games. Salah's response was brutal. He quoted Carragher's clip and wrote, "I'm starting to think you're obsessed with me," with a winking emoji. That single word, obsessed, was devastating. It framed Carragher not as an objective analyst, but as a desperate ex-player who needed Salah for relevance. It suggested Carragher was a stan, not a journalist. The tweet exploded, with fans siding with their goalscorer over the retired defender. Carragher tried to laugh it off, admitting he had a Mo Salah obsession, but the damage was done. Even Liverpool's best player thought he was pathetic. Virgil van Dijk went further. He attacked Carragher's competence. When Carragher labelled a defensive performance as shambolic, Van Dijk was asked where Carragher would fit in the current squad. His answer was crushing. Van Dijk said Carragher wouldn't get in that back four. He elaborated that in the modern game, he'd rate Joel Matip and Ibrahima Konate ahead of him. Think about that. Carragher played 737 games for Liverpool. Matip and Konate have struggled with injuries and consistency. Yet Van Dijk, the defensive idol who replaced him, suggested Carragher's skill set, tackling, shouting, blocking, was obsolete compared to the pace and ball-playing ability modern defenders need. Carragher responded on social media saying there was absolutely no chance those two were better defenders, pointing to his Champions League final tackle. But the message was clear. The current generation views him as a relic of a lower quality era, regardless of his medals. Then there's El Hadji Diouf, who spent years tearing Carragher apart with venom. Diouf called Carragher the worst player he ever played with, saying he had two left feet. "He's a right footer with two left feet," Diouf said. This painted Carragher not just as average, but as physically uncoordinated, a professional who couldn't kick a ball properly. Diouf went further, attacking the sociological basis of Carragher's career. If he wasn't a Scouser, a son of Liverpool, he would never have had the career he did. Diouf was arguing Carragher was essentially a diversity hire for the city, kept in the team to appease local fans rather than on merit. He questioned whether any big club ever wanted him. Was it necessary for him to go to Inter, to Real Madrid? Has he had any offers in his life? Diouf called him a turkey and a loser. Mario Balotelli joined in too, tweeting, "Jamie Carragher, bad player, wonderful hater, who cares?" The player perspective was united. Carragher was a bad player, making a career out of hating on people more talented than him. The managers hit even harder. Pep Guardiola, after Carragher suggested Manchester City were showing complacency following a draw, launched a systematic takedown. In his press conference, Guardiola addressed the pundits who criticised him, Carragher, Neville, Richards, by referencing their failures to win consecutive titles. Jamie Carragher didn't win one, Guardiola said. Micah Richards didn't win 4 Premier Leagues in a row. Never, ever. It's so difficult to do. Maybe I'm wrong, and they are seeing everything I'm not able to see. Guardiola pulled rank. By highlighting that Carragher never won one league title, he implied Carragher lacked the experiential knowledge to understand the psychology of maintaining dominance. It was a check your medals moment. Carragher responded with a tweet that escalated things to legal territory. "I think I'd have probably won one if Liverpool were owned by a nation-state and pushed the rules so far that the Premier League charged us 115 times. He was insinuating Guardiola's success was built on financial doping, referencing Manchester City's charges. This delighted Liverpool fans, but cemented his status as a biased critic in City's eyes. Jose Mourinho used a different tactic. When Carragher criticised Chelsea players for surrounding the referee, calling it disgraceful, Mourinho responded with, "Jamie stopped playing 2 years ago. In 2 years, he forgot everything he did on the pitch." Mourinho was highlighting hypocrisy. Carragher, known for time-wasting, tactical fouls, and aggressive appealing, was suddenly a guardian of fair play once he put on a suit. The hypocrite label stuck. Even fringe players got their shots in. Danny Simpson, who won the Premier League with Leicester in 2016, got into a Twitter argument with Carragher. When Carragher called the Leicester players average, Simpson replied, "I respect your opinion and, as a defender, I look up to you. However, I won the league, you haven't." Carragher, stung, mocked Simpson's time at Manchester United, suggesting he only played 5 games a season. Simpson's response was perfect. He posted a picture of himself holding his Premier League medal won as a Leicester starter, captioning it, "Yay, joke man, United players holding this beauty." Football largely declared Simpson the winner. Even a journeyman defender had achieved what Carragher couldn't. The image of Simpson clutching that medal became symbolic of Carragher's greatest weakness. No matter how many Champions League nights he experienced, no matter how many last-ditch tackles he made, that domestic trophy eluded him. And in the hierarchy of English football, the Premier League title carries weight that can silence even the most decorated careers. Rio Ferdinand exposed another weakness: hypocrisy over Saudi Arabia. When players moved to Saudi leagues, Carragher was vocal, calling it sports washing. But when Steven Gerrard, his closest friend, accepted a management role there, Carragher went quiet. Ferdinand called him out in a video. "Jamie Carragher, where are you, man? I heard a lot of talk, a lot of negativity about Saudi. Steven Gerrard's gone. You used to carry his boots and his bag at Anfield. I've not heard a peep out of you." Ferdinand successfully painted Carragher as someone who only holds principles when they affect rival clubs, suspending them for his mates. The silence was deafening. Carragher had spent weeks criticising others for taking Saudi money, questioning their integrity and motivations. Yet, when his closest friend made the same decision, suddenly the moral outrage disappeared. Ferdinand had exposed what many suspected, that Carragher's punditry wasn't driven by consistent principles, but by tribal loyalty and convenient narratives. And then there's the spitting incident. In 2018, Carragher was filmed spitting from his car at a Manchester United fan who was heckling him. The spit hit the fan's 14-year-old daughter. While he apologised and was suspended by Sky, his enemies now had a permanent weapon. When Carragher criticised agent Kia Joorabchian responded on national radio. Jamie Carragher, who unfortunately lives in a glass house, spits out of car windows and has no education in terms of his background. The classist undertone was clear. Carragher was a classless thug with no business acumen. It remains the ultimate trump card for dismissing his lectures on behaviour. The incident destroyed any moral high ground he might have claimed. How can you lecture players about professionalism when you've been caught spitting at a child? The video remains online, a permanent stain on his reputation that his detractors can pull out whenever he gets too righteous. So why do they all think Jamie Carragher is rubbish? Because he represents the gatekeeper without the key. He positions himself as the arbiter of elite standards, telling Messi he doesn't work hard enough, telling Ronaldo he's a problem, telling Guardiola he's complacent. Yet, his own resume lacks the domestic crown jewel. His playing style was defined by effort rather than the genius he critiqued. His personal conduct is viewed as flawed. To the players, he's yesterday's man shouting at clouds, demanding old-fashioned intensity in a world of modern tactics. When they call him pathetic, they're rejecting his right to judge them. They see someone who talks about winning mentality but never won the league. They see someone who demands respect but spat at a child. They see someone who preaches principles but protects his friends. In their eyes, Carragher is the embodiment of everything wrong with modern punditry: loud, opinionated, hypocritical, and lacking the credentials to back it up. He's become a symbol of the disconnected ex-player who thinks his past gives him authority over the present. Messi sees a donkey who can't understand art. Ronaldo sees someone beneath acknowledgement. Van Dijk sees an obsolete player. Guardiola sees a man who never won the big one. Diouf sees a talentless local boy. Ferdinand sees a hypocrite. Joorabchian sees a thug. Simpson sees someone with fewer medals than a fringe player. Salah sees someone obsessed with him. They're united in one view. Jamie Carragher lacks the authority, the achievement, or the character to judge them. Yet, here's the irony. This friction, this willingness to be the villain, to take insults from the world's greatest and turn them into content, makes him the most compelling pundit on television. He's the man the players love to hate, and in modern football's engagement economy, that hatred is valuable currency. Jamie Carragher might be called pathetic by the elite, but he's absolutely indispensable to the game, because sometimes the best villains are the ones everyone wants to destroy.